Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Very kind of you.
Thank you, guys.
You ready?
Yeah, let's do it. There's those monkeys again. Well, we are Hunter and Vanessa Lindsay, and we are from the Chattanooga, Tennessee area. We are 12100s plus. We have our best numbers here this weekend. We're new founders Emeralds. This past year, we've made more money in our business than we ever have, and that was a wild experience. We're excited about that. Hunter has a background in IT. I have a background as a business major who became a homeschool mom. So I can help you guys learn how to not use your degree necessarily. But you know what? I get the best of both worlds. I get to be with my children, and I get to build a business with my husband. And it's an amazing combination and an amazing way to live. So Joe and Mary Beth are our mentors in business. We're thankful for them. In fact, we got to have them over to our home in December, which was a phenomenal experience, being able to host our mentors and humbling at our home, and to actually have a place that they were comfortable staying at. It was a huge deal because when we met them, our kids, we had 3 boys under the age of 6. And I have a picture, by the way, to throw up there of the boys now. They're 19, 16, and 13. And we got an amazing experience. We got to take them to London, England for Christmas, and that's what's in the background there. But Joe and Mary Beth came over in December, and it was incredible. But if they had come to our house when we met them, when those boys were under the age of 6, I think it would have been less comfortable. It would have been a different experience. And I'm not going to go into my story tonight, but I do want to talk about the kind of decisions that we had made a habit of making, the kind of decisions that we had made before we met Joe and Mary Beth and before we met you all, before we met this team, and what that led to. We just had a history of making poor decisions. And Robert, Routh, you were amazingly transparent. You and Abigail are awesomely transparent. And I guess we're going to go ahead and follow suit. Let's talk about the decisions we'd made that kind of jumbled up our life and made us frustrated with where we were at. And one of the things that Hunter and I have noticed and recognized in ourselves is that decision-making in life can make or break our ability to succeed in anything. Our day job, our career, any part of our life, and especially in our own business. And let me give you a for instance, because I think this will help you to understand. You see people up here in like sparkly outfits, and you hear about their Founders Emerald, and you hear all that, but I think you might relate to this, maybe a few of you, hopefully not many. But here's the history of some of our decisions, just real quick bullet points. Number 1, a rough decision. We decided we had to buy a house because that's what you do, and so we bought a house from friends. And they urged us not to get a home inspection because we can trust them. And things like black mold, dry, wet rot, and termite infestation come to mind after that. That was an amazingly bad, poor decision. We bought a car. We were like super smart. We're going to beat the system and save money because we're all about finding a good deal. And somebody knew a guy. That guy, right? With the chest hair and the gold chain. He had a side gig where he'd go to the auction and get cars really cheap and then sell them, at a cheap price. So we got an amazing Lexus with a cracked head. And we paid cash for it because that's cool. It was so cool to be able to say we could pay cash for that. And it didn't run, and it was an absolute piece of garbage, and we basically lost, okay? There's another one. But we saved money. We saved money on it. Hunter was really frustrated at one point with his job, like terribly frustrated. We'd had our first child, Ian. I was staying home with him, and he was like, I'm so tired of this career. I'm tired of this office. I'm tired of this place. And so he took some advice from a friend who said, you need to just change careers and go into this pathway. He's like, there's a lot of money here. They started painting big promises, big money, big future. You're going to love it. You have autonomy. It's going to be incredible. So with a couple of different people, we decided to get advice from someone we trusted, but they didn't know anything about that pathway or that career. They didn't know anything about that industry, nothing. And but they were like, go for it, man. If that's the kind of money you can make, do it. So needless to say, within 9 months, I was waiting tables at night to pay our mortgage. And it was rough. So let's see, we lived on credit cards to get by during that time. Our house needed tons of repair. We were stuck in it. We had to fix it. There was just crazy. Here's another thing. I'm really close to my mom, and I've always loved my parents and respected them. They did an awesome job of raising me. So I continued in the the pattern of sharing everything with them. So I shared everything, even my frustrations, my disappointments about my husband, things he did and didn't do, how he worked too much, all of it. I shared it all with my mom. Great. So how do you think they started to treat my husband? So there were parts of our life that were just crumbling financially, relationally, and our time management. I felt like we're two capable people that were just, all this stuff kept happening. And this is just a short list because we have a short amount of time with you tonight. I can keep going, okay? I can keep going. This is a short list of things. And we just feel like we lived multiple lifetimes, don't we? Where we're just like, we've made enough mistakes for maybe a 300-year-old. That's how we feel, But we got it concentrated in a short amount of time, which is helpful. So when we met this team, we had a renewed sense of hope. When we met this team, we had like an on-fire focus. We were like, this is a place where people win. This is a place where we could win. And there's plenty of evidence everywhere that it can happen. You can't fake this much success. It just can't happen. So we started learning how to think. And that's the key thing. Joe and Mary Beth started teaching us how to think. We started listening to people who knew how to think. And we were making decisions around what we ultimately wanted. And it started to change everything. Here's the thing. We wanted financial peace. We wanted some security. As you can hear, the number of mistakes we made financially, don't you think we needed a little bit of brain surgery? We needed some help with making wise decisions around money. And we knew that solving the money thing would solve many, many, many other problems. And so for us, the priority was focusing on our business. This was the solution. You understand, this was the solution. Some people, they hit hard times and this is the thing that goes away. But this was our solution. So we had to start asking ourselves important questions, different questions than we had in the past. What's the definition of insanity, by the way? You've heard it. Y'all got it. You got it. Doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. And you also heard that you can't solve a problem at the same level of thinking as when you created it, right? These are things I started to learn around this team, things I didn't learn when I was graduating SUMA in business school, real life things I learned here. And that started to change everything. We started to ask ourselves, what is the wise thing to do in this situation? And we started to run those things past our mentors. And it was a game changer. So we just started making decisions that would actually lead us to our desired outcome, right? We started focusing in things. We had so many victories that started to pile up. I don't want to leave you with all those bad decisions. Let me share some of the victories that come from walking in wisdom and making decisions around life that allow us to prioritize what we want most. And ultimately, we solved the financial thing with our solution, and it started to affect the way we thought about everything, and we started walking in wisdom in everything, in every area of life, around time and money, and around relationships. And so we started to experience some financial peace. Our business actually started to pay for itself. That was like a huge win. We could actually get our own hotel room at conferences. That is a win. Anybody here sharing a room this weekend? Are you like, I just want my own room? But you're walking in wisdom because you're following a budget. Good for you. But our business started to pay for our own room. Our business started to pay for itself. And then it started to give us more. And then that money started to stack up and stack up and stack up. And then we started getting these big achievers bonuses for $15,000. And I can tell you that debt, it came out fast. The solution was solving the problem fast. We paid off $120,000 of debt. I'm going to hurry for you because I want to hear from you. And we started making better relational decisions. I stopped sharing everything with my parents. And especially when we started really committing to our future here, I had to stop sharing everything with them because they didn't understand, and it made them more frustrated with my husband. So we stopped solving or sharing our problems with people who couldn't solve the problem, right? We started sharing our problems with people who could actually help us with a solution. And just things started to get better. So we became the center of influence for our family, and even a center of influence for people who doubted us and mocked us. Everything changed. Everything's been turned on its head. And so I just want to encourage you that if you're challenged by some of the mindset here, if you're challenged by some of what you hear this weekend, good, because there's wisdom on this stage and there's wisdom in this room. And when you start deciding what you really want and you focus on what you really want, it makes you start to make incredibly wise decisions around every area of your life. And I will say this, that you don't have to be an emerald or have a certain pin to experience this kind of success. Can I clarify this? It's about the mindset and the discipline of thought. You can develop the kind of victories that I'm sharing in your life without a certain pin as you continue to reach that pin. You can develop a mindset and a clarity of thought that is amazing and makes decision-making so simple. And so I will say this, Manny and Candace talked last night at our leadership, and they were incredible, and they spewed wisdom. And I'm so excited for you to hear from them tonight, because they are an incredible example of people who focused on their solution, and they didn't compromise, and they have incredible results to prove it. But I will say that the best example you have, in my opinion, because I know him so well, is my husband. So I want you to hear from him on this.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. By the way, let me speak to the guys, because I know girls don't operate this. Raise your hand if there's more than 10 guys in one room. Raise your hand. Okay. All right, there you go, right there. But what I do think is that, to Vanessa's point, we had a lot of conditioning from the past, from our childhood, and everyone in this room, every one of us come from a certain, I guess, a background, whether it's in our home or the schools we went to, the association that we had, whether we chose it or not. And not all challenges in life are our fault, right? But I do think we all suffer from self-inflicted wounds. We certainly did, okay? I read in a book called The Pursuit by Dexter Yeager, chapter 11 talks about proteges and mentors, okay? There's two ways that, in that book, he talks about two ways that you learn, mistakes and mentors. And I assure you that I have learned, okay? And all the leaders over here, they would say the same thing. Robert and Abigail, by the way, they are perfect. They're poster children. Like what he said just a while ago, like, please don't make dumb decisions. We were over here on this side begging you to seek wise counsel about decision making. The two skills are simple. You'll learn that tomorrow. You'll master it. But if you continue to make decisions in the same thought process, the patterns that you have, you will limit your results, okay? So in that book, and what I was going to tell you is that it's very painful learning all these lessons from mistakes. This 2 or 3 lifetimes I feel like we've lived, people are like, you guys just have so much wisdom. I was like, bro, do you know how stupid we were? Like, it is, we should have a lot of freaking wisdom, my goodness. Like, we have a term back where I grew up in the sticks in North Carolina, right? When there is a lack of logic in someone's thought process, right? They just are used to making, y'all know what the word nonsensical means? Like they make decisions, y'all ever meet somebody and they make decisions and you're just going, I don't know what planet you are on right now. So where I come from, there's we read the Urban Dictionary, which is not good, by the way, but there's a Greek Urban Dictionary, okay? And this word for illogical decision making is called dumas, okay? It's D-U-M-A-S, okay? It's a Greek word, and so it's especially evident with newer IBOs, okay? And check this out, it's especially evident in 3 categories. Decisions around time, decisions around money, and decisions around relationships. Let me give you a couple examples. By the way, I do have real examples, but I'm taking a little bit of artistic license here. The names are not real, okay? So don't think it's somebody in the room, because it's not, all right? Let me introduce you to a guy named Gavin, okay? Gavin's a single guy, works 2 jobs, part-time engineering student, okay, taking about 9 hours, works 3rd shift as a welder. He's making $30 an hour as a welder, works 3 nights a week. Pretty good for a guy in his early 20s, right? And then he works part-time a couple nights a week at Uber Eats. This guy's, for a single guy, doing okay, living with his girlfriend, no problem. So the challenge is spending habits, right? Spends $600 a month eating out monthly, okay? Don't judge him. Some of you guys got more than that. So his buddy shares a story with him. Gavin had hunger, capacity, and appreciation, made it through our selection process. I mean, the plan makes sense. Who saw the plan and you're like, this just makes sense? Raise your hand. Yeah, it just made sense. So same guy, at least he made that good decision. So he meets some positive people, falls in love with the environment, but he's very impulsive, okay? After being exposed to this environment, starts realizing when he goes to work, like, man, these people are just negative. So after an amazing weekend event just like this, he hauls off and just goes, I'm quitting my job. I'm getting something more positive, okay? tells his mentor after the fact, okay, I'm gonna drive for Uber Eats more, focus on the business and school. This is gonna be awesome, okay? Again, living with his girlfriend, she's verbally supportive, but after 3 months, I know it's a shocker, but he's drained his savings. She is now paying all of the rent, and the relationship's stressed. How could that possibly happen? How? Finally tells his upline, flare gun. I need help, right? Upline says, hey, you need a consistent, business-friendly, stable job. Go back and get one. So he solves a problem, goes to Amazon and gets a job earning $15 an hour. And now he has to work 5 days a week, third shift, just to make up, to get back to even where he was, okay? So he's stressed out, no sleep, has less free time than he did. His girlfriend's mad at him. His grades are suffering. And he thinks the business is hard. It's just hard to find people who are interested in this. How confident do you think Gavin is at sharing his story? You know what he's suffering from? Dumas, okay? Hang on, let me introduce you to Ellie. Ellie's a single girl in her 20s, works retail at a clothing store at the mall. She's living with 3 roomies. She's a hard worker. Her coworker shares her story, makes it through the vetting process, and after 90 days in business, she starts having some, like, her job is messing around with her hours. Has this ever happened to anyone? It's like, dude, I had these consistent hours for the last 6 weeks, and then you change things, okay? That's retail, all right? No shocker there. She says, I want to find it, she thinks, doesn't say to her upline, thinks about, I just want to find a different job that doesn't mess. I don't want to miss opportunities to associate right motive, right? Without counsel, quits her job and starts doing Amazon Flex. Okay, all right. Her upline, in the meantime, helps her sponsor 2 new IBOs. So she's fired up. She's spinning plates over here, and she's like fired up with her IBOs and spinning plates over here, and she's stressed out because she's like, Amazon Flex is like this, it's up and down. Unbeknownst to her, she's at a weekend event, and all her roommates throw a massive party. Some destructive things happen to the property, and I don't know why, but the landlord says, you guys have to move out, okay? They get an eviction notice, and she's a little freaked out. Now, the guy she's dating, he lives in the metropolis of Jackson, Mississippi. Let me tell you, the only capital of any state in the union where the population below 35 is actually decreasing, it's Jackson, Mississippi, okay? So he lives there, and she's like, well, I don't want to be without a place to live, and maybe I can do Amazon Flex there, and I'll just live with my boyfriend until things get back to normal. Okay, I mean, don't blame her, right? Challenge is, this guy acts like he wants to marry her, but he hasn't had a real conversation with her. But she's still like, I don't have time to figure that part out, okay? At least I have a place to sleep. It's safe. So she's got no stable job, no committed relationship, no place of her own. And now she's 6.5 hours away from any association that's really positive in her life. Why is she in this situation? Dumas! All right, got to go fast. Last one, Max and Lauren, sweet couple, 2 kids under the age of 3. They are kicking like sharp, hungry, upwardly mobile. They're a little tight on finances and everything, student loans, all this kind of stuff, post-college, but living in a 2-bedroom apartment, okay? And things are going good. When she meets you, she's like, this is my way of coming home, creating enough options to maybe we can create enough income to where I can choose, if I choose, to not have to work as many hours and have more time with my little ones, okay? Who's ever had a goal like that? Ladies, like, yeah, lots of ladies have that goal. Perfectly noble goal, okay? Challenge is, Max's home life growing up was not perfect. So Max has an older brother. His name is Mike. Mike lives in mom's basement at 32. Mike likes playing PlayStation online and, all the good games, shooter games, and drinking beer. Because, I mean, he's a, quality work ethic and all that kind of stuff, right? Mike goes, hey, dude, mom's mad at me. She says, I can no longer live in the basement. I got to move out. I don't have a place to go. All my buddies are turning me away. Can I sleep on your couch just for a couple of weeks? Seriously, until I get back on my feet. And I know I don't have a stable job. I'm going to start applying for jobs. Will you please? Lauren's like, no way. Max is like, but it's my brother. So guess what? Max wins the war, okay, and says, hey, babe, it'll just be for a couple of weeks. So 2 weeks and 12 applications later, guess what? I know everyone would be shocked by this, but Mike's habits have transferred over to his brother's apartment. He's playing Xbox and drinking beer, and now there's 2 little ones running around, and there's stress, right? He's sleeping on the couch. Guess what? Max goes, look, man, you got to find a job. He's like, dude, seriously, in just a little while, I'm going to get something. How about this? How about I help you pay? I'll get some other part-time jobs. I'll help pay rent. He hasn't done it yet. But if we move into a bigger place with 3 bedrooms, I'll help pay rent. And maybe there's a way we could all you could even save some costs. Max is like, well, I'm stressed out by money, so that would help. Maybe we could have a little bit of extra money to invest in my business. That would be awesome, right? Sounds logical, doesn't it? So then, okay, they are further behind in budget because even though it's $100 less to rent the apartment, they didn't realize that inflation and gas would cause prices to go up. Didn't plan for that one, right? They're distracted by the move. They have 2 IBOs sponsored. Their IBOs are fired up. Lauren's so frustrated. Marriage is stressed out. Kids are off track in the training. Why? Dumas! Okay? So, each of these real scenarios, they all could be avoided. Here's the challenge. Pain and frustration can be avoided. It's all caused by, not all, a lot of them are caused by self-inflicted wounds, okay? Vanessa and I chose to seek wise counsel. We didn't before marriage yet, Joe and Mary Beth. I call it BM, okay, before Markowitz. Like we had all the stuff she described was before Markowitz. We weren't perfect when we met him. It was embarrassing sharing some of our stuff. And it wasn't like he waved a magic wand. Here's what Joe and Mary Beth gave. First of all, they accepted us for who we were. They believed in us. They encouraged us. And they gave us permission to begin to think. We learned that everything, you want to write this down, everything is figure-outable. I know it's not a real word. I just made it up, okay? Everything is figure-outable. Every challenge, Think and Grow Rich says this, Napoleon Hill, with every seed of adversity comes a seed of an equivalent or greater benefit, right? Everything is figure-outable. So we started to seek that wise counsel, and it's interesting how it affected our belief, and it affected our confidence in a positive way. It affected our profit in a positive way. It affected our ability to sponsor, our conviction around sharing our story. Look, challenges are real. There's no doubt about it. There's hard decisions. And I'm not minimizing any of the situations that people go through. We've been through some stuff. If you haven't heard our story. I remember hearing Manny and Candace's, especially Manny's story about, and I don't want to take it from him or steal his thunder, but, there's a scene as a young man where his family was living in a hotel. They were busted. And he's 19 working 2 jobs. I remember hearing that story and I was like, if this guy who's way younger than me can do this and start to seek wise counsel, and when he was 19, he's getting counsel from a 40-year-old white dude, pasty, redheaded white dude, right, Manny? And people are like, yeah, that's exactly right, the situation. If he can get to a different situation, I can too, okay? And by the way, so can all of us. So can all of us. Let me tell you this. There's some tremendous examples that we've encountered. I don't have time to go through them all. I'll give you a couple here. How about this? There's a young man named Simon Stedman on our team. Simon, where are you at, bud? Okay, 27 years old. We met this team. I think he's 19 or 20 years old. Now, he had some incubating to do. He was not engaged in positive association, okay? He's living at home. His home life was not positive. There was a lot going on. I'm not going to steal his story because this guy's he's just got some crazy good stuff happening. But I will say this, he saw fruit on the tree of the people that he had access to, so he sought wise counsel around time, around money, and around relationships. I remember having a conversation. He's like, man, I'm working, this moving job, and it's just up and down all the time, and then I get razzed about leaving on the weekends when Saturdays are a big day. And I was like, why don't you go, first of all, you need to change your association at home, okay? And move. I can't afford to move out. I said, yeah, you can't. Go get a second job. Wait a minute. No, don't do anything different unless you are counseled by the person who's investing in you, who's investing time, knows your situation. But based on specific, counsel for him, I said, you need a second job. And by the way, at night, you can wait tables 2 nights a week, and you can learn how to fill in the gaps and learn how to sponsor and do the mundane, unsexy activity that you have to do in order to grow a business. So he listened and applied. It wasn't perfect. So now he's in a situation where, A, he's making more money than he's ever made. He only has one job now. He just qualified as bronze builder. He just qualified for Heart of a Leader. He's completely debt-free. He has tens of thousands of dollars in the bank. He is now the influencer in his family with all the dysfunction, okay? Now they all seek counsel from him, even the people twice his age. And he is not stressed out. He's got good structure, good profit, making over $1,200 or $1,300 a month in his business. And he is fired up about moving on and starting platinum qualification this year, okay? Now, let me tell you one more. Look. Jack and Emily Finley, another one, couple with young kids. They got 3 kids under the age of 5. And this guy is in the insurance world. She was a physical therapist. He's turned down 7-figure offers from companies. They live way below their means. When he met this team, I remember vividly after probably 18 months around this team, he goes, I just want to help you fill coliseums. And I was like, are you sure about that? Are you sure? Because the shiny objects, man, they're so alluring. They're so seductive. But he stayed focused, and they figured things out, and they made sure that they saw what we didn't say, they're not a boss employee with us. You got to do this. You got to do that. No, hey, if you're in our situation, how would you handle it? They didn't have to take our counsel, but they decided to apply some things. Where do you think we learned it? From that couple sitting on the front row, Joe and Mary Beth. And by the way, all of the leaders that they've sowed into, they gave us access to. Don't think that the secret is, I got to have a personal relationship every week where I talk to Joe and Mary Beth. That is not the case. But I will say this. Today, just Summit, they had 3 legs and 7 people. They got 5 legs and 14 people here, brand new bronze builders. They're making money in their business, and they're focused on their future. You understand, things can change when you seek wise counsel. So the question is, what's the wise thing to do? And I want you to know, 2019, I watched my father go through a struggle with cancer and lose the battle. And as hard as it was seeing him waste away and losing that relationship, okay, he's in eternity. He's good, okay? We're in good shape. But I remember he left me as executor of his estate. And I had these conversations with people, attorneys, hospital, afterwards. What do you want to do with this? And I said, you know what? There's nothing to talk about because he owns nothing except a set of golf clubs and some clothes. Let me tell you something. If anything has taught me that time is not our friend. Some of you are so young and you think you can just make any decision, but that decision, even 1 degree off of wise counsel, 2 miles, 3 miles, 10 miles down the road could be dramatically off course. And all I can tell you is this: don't allow yourself and the inflicted wounds, self-inflicted wounds, rob you of profit, of belief, of confidence, and especially from making an impact on other people. We're so fired up to be here this weekend. Can't wait for you to hear from Mandy and Candace. Thank you so much for the time, Joe and Mary Beth.
For existing IBOs only, not for use with prospects. The success depicted in this profile may reflect income from